Hello and welcome everyone. Here we are. We're back for some more modern action. So, I tried to record a video with this deck. I had some issues. Now, those issues, unfortunately, what they were was I started recording and then apparently at some point paused it, forgot to unpause it, and then later unpaused it at the wrong time. So I was recording just while I was waiting to find a match, and then unpaused it, or then went to play it and paused it again for the actual match. So I'm going to try to run through the replays of the videos and talk through what happened. Yeah, and see how that goes. I'm going to skip over the first match because the first match was pretty terrible, but then we'll go through the last four and we'll see how it goes. I know it's not going to be great, but I don't know that I have time to replay a full league of this right now, and I don't want to lose those gameplays that were pretty interesting games. So we're going to try it. If you guys don't like it, we won't do this again in the future, even though I plan on not doing this again in the future, to be honest. I just want to do it for this one set of matches. All right, so here we are. We're on the draw. We we mulligan to 5 here, keeping a pretty decent hand. Opponent goes first, shocking in a Hallowed Fountain. We just play a Misty, planning on fetching a tap land and a turn. They play Field of Ruin and pass. Of course, at this point, we're pretty sure our opponent's on blue-white. We fetch up a tapped land. We draw another Archmage's Charm, which is really good against what we're playing against. Opponent misses their land drop. We fetch up, I believe, the other Triome. Yep, we play the Sunken Ruin and pass. Opponent plays Flooded Strand. I believe we go to Archmage Charm ourselves here end of turn. Yes, we do. All right, I believe they let it resolve. No, that's right, they delay it. I forgot. So we draw Valky, which is not a good draw. But we're not going to cast our spells during our turn. We pass the turn to our opponent. Our opponent then is going to go ahead and, I believe they counter the second attempt at Archmage Charm again. Yep, they force it. We draw an Opt, which is fine. It's not what we wanted, but it's whatever. Our opponent misses a land drop again here. This time our Ancestral or Archmage Charm comes off suspend. We target ourselves, drawing 2 lands. We play our 4th land in Verdant Catacombs. Opponent fields us off our red source, which is fine. This gives us the chance to Opt. I choose to put that on the bottom and draw. We end up drawing another Archmage's Charm, which is great. That's what we want to see in this matchup. Next couple turns are draw go, if I remember correctly. We don't really do much. Opponent, we let them have their Archmage's Charm. We don't want to fight over it. I made the choice that creatures weren't going to be the line we were going to fight over. We went Mana Leak on their Jace. They went Spell Snare. We were rebuttal with Archmage's Charm, which resolves. So we untap. We end up passing the turn. Okay, I didn't mean to do all that. But basically, we went to snap and fought over the Cryptic. Is that what happened? I think that's what happened. Kind of lost it with all the decisions there. We start beating down with just a 2/2. Right, we decide to try to cast Bring to Light. They play Omen of the Sea. We end up getting to resolve our Tybalt, activating it, exiling Opt, getting an Opt and Force. To note, we learned something very important in this matchup. You can use Force off of this by pitching a card in your hand. So they named Tybalt with their Pithing Needle. So we decide we're going to go ahead and Abrupt Decay it. Now, we chose to Abrupt Decay it first because I want to be able to go Tybalt Plus. Our opponent goes Cryptic, trying to return it to their hand. We just decided we're going to hard cast the Force. Resolves, we kill their creature. Play Tybalt, getting another Archmage's Charm and a just an Archmage's Charm and an Opt. We play our Bauble, revealing Snow-Covered Island on top of the library, and go back to attacking them. Now, during their upkeep, they crack their Omen of the Sea, which they scryed both to the bottom. We draw a Cryptic Command. They pass the turn here. We go ahead and just opt end a turn. We see another opt on top, but we choose to get the Cling into the dust. Then we choose to exile both players' graveyards, and just have both players' graveyards available to us. We bobble. I decide we're going to play Jace, and I believe this is where the opponent decided that was game over. Yeah. So opponent concedes around game 1 there. And, yeah, so on to round number 2. Now, in sideboarding, we took out Pushes and the Damnation. We reveal Lurrus, of course. We mulligan to this hand that's pretty good against them. They lead on Hallowed Fountain taps. We lead on Triumph taps, playing Bauble. We wait till their turn to bobble them, which I don't think it really matters this early on. We see another Archmage's Charm. They go Snow-Covered Plains. We draw another land. We play that land that we drew, play the bobble again, and we pass, bobbling their top card, which is Gust. They go Omen of the Sea. Presumably, they scry to the top, and they keep both. We draw Archmage's Charm, which is great. We also have Opt up as well as spells. Being able to place Nihil Spellbomb next turn. We choose not to play anything to hold up just all of our counter magic. Our opponent fetches, grabbing a Hallowed Fountain. Yep. Then they play Castle Ardenvale. They go to play Teferi, to which we go ahead and we Mana Leak it. They return with a Dispel. We force pitching, I believe it was Cryptic. Yes. Teferi just shuts down so much of our game plan, it's hard to beat them. We play the Nihil Spellbomb, leaving up Archmage's Charm. They play Ashiok. We decide we need to counter Ashiok. Not necessarily the best choice, but I think it was right. We leave up our mana, and we are going to Spellbomb, I believe, end of turn here. Yes, we do. Which draws us a Abrupt Decay, which isn't really great here. I believe we put Lurrus in hand here. No, we do not. We don't put Lurrus in hand for some reason. I don't remember why not. I think at this point I wasn't... Okay, there I remembered Lurrus. So we choose not to fight over the Archmage's Charm, deciding it's not worth it at the moment. We draw a Cryptic Command. I believe we decide we're just going to hold up both our counterspells this turn. This time we decide we're going to fight over this Charm. Which in hindsight I still think was right, but it does look a little bad with us deciding the previous one gets to resolve. Again, just passing, holding up both counterspells. This is, yeah, they go after our red source now, so we can't hardcast Tybalt. Presumably knowing that we don't play any other red sources. That could not be the case, but felt like they knew. We try to charm ourselves. Our opponent goes for a Dispel. We decide we're going to fight the Dispel. I mostly wanted to work a counter out of their hand. We get the Force and Negation out of their hand. We draw. We play our Lurrus with the plan of mana leaking a Path to Exile. So we cast Spellbomb out of our graveyard. We pop the Spellbomb targeting them. Unfortunately, we draw a land, which isn't great. They go to Path. We go to Mana Leak it just like we planned. Except they have a second Path to Exile that gets our Lurrus. And at this point, the game is pretty much over with. They have 4 cards. We have none. We do draw a Snapcaster, which was nice. They go to castle. We don't do anything in response. Decide to kind of just play it back. Continue playing draw go. We try to Snapcaster Mage here, which does get Cryptic commanded. We use that chance to Abrupt Decay the token. And then we top deck another Abrupt Decay. We decide we're going to take another draw step. We don't want to concede just yet. To which our opponent plays Ashiok, exiles our entire graveyard, which we Abrupt Decay the Ashiok immediately, deciding we don't want them to get any more value off the Ashiok. We draw a Tibble with no, or a Valky with no way of casting the Tibble half, and of course the Valky half's no good against the blue-white control deck. They slam at Teferi, and this is pretty much the point where I've had it at this point. I don't think there's much way we can get back into this. Yeah, we concede after drawing the Misty Rainforest, and go on to the third round. On the play for the third round, or third game, reveal Lurrus. We have to mulligan to 6 again. We keep this hand, which I think was pretty good all in all. We bobble them, revealing a Flooded Strand. We draw another land. They play the Flooded Strand that we knew about. Play it land and pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They pass with 2 lands up. I believe end of turn we fetch another Triome here. Yeah, which then we draw the third Triome. Our opponent goes Omen of the Sea, which of course we're not going to counter Omen of the Sea. Again, maybe an Archmage Charm end of turn we might be willing to counter, but most of the time we're not going to counter the Omen. So I fetch up, grabbing a Sunken Hollow. I decide to play the Drowned Catacombs afterwards. Our opponent goes and fields us off of our not Black Stars, our other Triome. Playing another field and passing the turn. We decide to cycle the Triome, which in hindsight I kind of regretted later, but I think we're still okay. They go to field us off our green source, so now we have no green sources left in the deck. Interesting spot here that I kind of wish we would have had a basic forest, but we didn't, unfortunately. I agree not playing any red sources is right, but I feel like a basic forest should have been in the deck somewhere. Maybe a blue-green filter land, it might be necessary if that's the case, but I'm not sure. Speaking of filter lands, we play the blue-black filter land, put Lurrus in the hand, and pass the turn. At this point, they start making tokens and basically are going to just force us into a position where we're just going to be behind for the rest of the game. Token attacks us. We untap, drawing another counterspell, but the problem is there's almost no way our Lurrus is going to get to resolve. And they have a handful of cards, so we know that it's not very likely that our Lurrus gets to resolve. We go ahead and play Lurrus this turn, prepared to fight over it. They draw a Bobble and pass. They go and path it. We decide we are going to fight over it with a Archmage's Charm, but they have a Force Negation here, and we can't fight over it anymore. We go and grab one of our last basics. They reveal a Snow-Covered Plains off of the Bobble. They also crack the Omen of the Sea to scry. Presumably I believe they got rid of it. With a bottom topped. Play another land. They play Teferi, and at that point we concede because there's no point with all these counterspells left in our hand to continue to play. Overall, I think the blue-white matchup is not that bad. I think blue-white's probably the worst control deck in the formats. Maybe Esper is worse, but with all the prowess running around, I honestly think Esper is actually a little bit better. The more I've seen it played and the more I've played against it because of Kaya's Guile. That being said, obviously blue-white still plays a bunch of powerful white and blue control spells, so they can still win matches. But I don't think this is a bad matchup. I think we just kind of had a rough roll. They just got in a position where resolving Teferi meant we couldn't play. So, yeah. That's the end of that one. On to round 2. Alright, we're on the draw again here. Reveal our companion. Keep a kind of suspect hand, but I kind of liked it. I believe we went ahead and bobbled them here. No, we waited till their turn and bobbled ourselves. Revealing Snow-Covered Island, which we didn't want to draw, so we fetched end of turn. We ended up drawing a fetch land, which is better because I didn't want the basic island. I wanted my colors a little bit fixed. Seeing their blue-red, they go as foretold, and we're going to mana leak this as foretold. After that, we untap, we play another land with the intention of grabbing a basic so that we can play Sunken Hollow. Our opponent just passes the turn. We play Sunken Hollow here. Opponent just continues to pass the turn here. I believe this turn we... Oh, no. This turn we hit our land drop. I thought it was this turn we missed a land drop. Opponent goes sleight of hand. We're not going to try to fight a counterspell or play a counterspell on a cantrip or a selection spell. Hit on the land and pass the turn. At this point, we are just kind of... We know they're, as foretold, Electro Balance deck. Opponent thinks about trying to play something, but they pass. We decide here we're going to discard the Fatal Push to hand size. Opponent again just passes, discarding Restore Balance. This time we pass, pitching a Bring to Light. Opponent again doesn't play anything, discarding Crashing Footfalls. This turn we end up deciding to discard another Bring to Light. I kind of fought over what card to get rid of, but I ended up deciding Bring to Light was the right choice. Opponent tries to cast Collected Conjuring. We go ahead and we cast a Cryptic Command on this, drawing a land finally. I chose to cast Cryptic instead of Mana Leak because it was one of our most expensive spells, and I was hoping to draw into some more lands. Our opponent tries to Electro Balance this end of turn, which is a perfect use for our Mana Leak. They go to force it. We let the force resolve, and then we choose to Mana Leak again, countering the Electro Balance. Our opponent untaps, tries to cast another Collected Conjuring, to which we fetch, grabbing an island so we can Archmage Charm it. I believe right here they might keep playing. Yeah, we Valky here and we plus Revealing Force Negation and Archmage's Charm. We draw a Cling. They go Petty Theft, bouncing into our hand. They cast a Pillage, to which we decide we're going to Cling to Dust, trying to draw a counterspell. We let it get destroyed after that. That prevents us from recasting the Valky this turn. We decide to go Snapcaster, Archmage Charm ourselves from the graveyard. Opponent Valakut Awakenings in response. Then they resolves after the fact. They go ahead and they cast their Brazen Borrower, to which we, of course, have to let it resolve. We don't have a counterspell for it. We play Bauble, go Snap Push, and attack, starting the beat down here, with the intention, of course, of trying to take their life total down low enough. They cast a Pillage on another one of our colored sources. We decide to go ahead and Cryptic Command it. Our opponent then turns around as foretold, which we let resolve. They restore balance and we counter it. I let the as foretold resolve here, not realizing that we could force from the bin. But then when they went to balance, I knew we had to do something because we lose too much stuff and probably lose the game if we didn't. But it worked. So we attacked our opponent here. Again, the beatdown plan starting to look better and better. I decided to play Valky after the fact to check what was in their hand, which is Serum Visions and Crashing Football. They drew Sleight of Hand, and they shocked themselves down to 7 playing Serum Visions. I decided I'm going to go ahead and Archmage Charm it to stop them from drawing. That's where they decide that game's over with. And yeah, that was round 1. Round 2. We reveal Lurrus. We keep this hand, knowing we don't have any early counterspells, but hoping that we'll get a chance to play one. Or draw one, rather, and we do draw Mana Leak. Never didn't have it, as I usually say. We were worried there about them fetching a red source and electro balancing something and setting us way back because they were really low on cards. We go ahead and fetch because we didn't want the card that was on top, which was Sunken Hollow. We draw Damnation, which is definitely worse than Sunken Hollow. I kind of forgot to take it out. They go to cast Blood Moon on us. Notably, we sideboarded out all the pushes, and I forgot to take out the Damnation. We Mana Leak the Blood Moon here. That's going to allow us to go to our turn. Notably, we could have left up mana and just Abrupt Decayed the Blood Moon after it resolved, but I kind of didn't think about that. So instead, Abrupt Decay is going to have to come in and do its work against, of course, good old As Foretold. Opponent cracks out the Fire Islet, knowing that this Ancestral's coming down next turn. Cast it. We decide we're going to try to counter this spell, hoping not to have our opponent resolve anything big. Our opponent ends up resolving As Foretold here, but doesn't have a follow-up play. We play this, and instead of just playing something now during our turn, we decide we're going to pass the turn in hopes that our opponent doesn't have a spell to play off of it this turn, and that we get to Abrupt Decay it before it matters. Which end step, I do go ahead and try to Abrupt Decay it. Our opponent decides to try and cast a spell, but then takes it back. I'm not sure if they try. We're going to try to counter it, forgetting that it was uncounterable. Our opponent then goes ahead and Serum Visions on their turn here, and then passing after that. To which we fetch Sunken Hall, untap, drawing Mana Leak, leaving us in a pretty dominating position here. We feel pretty comfortable. Our opponent hasn't really had anything to do. We draw another counter spell. Would have liked to have drawn a land, but opponent goes Brazen Borrow. We let it resolve because we have Abrupt Decay. Opponent goes to attack us, and we decide we're going to Abrupt Decay it, having up Cryptic Command mana. I decide to Archmage Charm myself. Our opponent decides, nope, you're not doing that. They're going to force it, which of course we can't counter. We draw another land, and we go ahead and put Lurrus in hand, holding up Cryptic Command here, with them only having 2 cards in hand. They drop to 3 and pass the turn again. We draw Thoughtseize. We lead on Thoughtseize. They go ahead and they counter the Thoughtseize here with Force and Negation. I think about trying to counter the Force, but decide to let it resolve. And instead, I decide I'm just going to play Lurrus, which we do. This leaves us up Mana Leak. My thought here was I'm going to use Mana Leak to protect the Lurrus, hoping to draw Force and Negation. Our opponent fails to find a island or plains, which means they have one in hand, I believe. We end up drawing another Bauble off our Bauble, and that's the point where our opponent decides that's enough. They decide they can't win from this point on. And yeah, this was a pretty good matchup. We did bring in some number of Nihil Spell Bombs, I think. Just one? Okay. Yeah. Of course we did that just to try and have a cantrip over our removal. Again, like I said, I forgot Damnation. Damnation should have come out too, but it did not. Alright, on to the next round. Alrighty. We were on the play here. We went ahead and, of course, reveal our companion. We mulligan our first 2 hands, keeping a what I feel like is a pretty decent hand. Our opponent is, of course, on the, it's not Belcher, but it's the dump your graveyard into the bin. Opponent plays Talisman. We decided to counter this first Talisman. I want to try to pinch our opponent on mana as much as possible. Our opponent casts a Signet, but we decided to let this one resolve and then so that we can Archmage Charm and draw some cards here. We draw 2 more counter spells, which is great. Right. Here our opponent goes for the combo, which we, of course, just slam our first counter spell here, which we choose to cast a Logic Knot once we figure out how to tap our mana correctly. Having a Mana Leak up for a second potential for a Force of Negation. Not Force Negation, a Pact of Negation here. Opponent then displays a tapped land and passes the turn. We untap, draw a Bauble, play our land, and we crack the Bauble targeting them. And we then decide to put Lurrus in hand, feeling pretty safe behind the number of spells we have. We go to Mana Leak, but they have Pact of Negation. This allows them to win the game by exiling all the cards in their graveyard, or putting all the cards from their deck into their graveyard. This triggers their Creeping Chills, draining us for 12 points of damage. Narcomoeba comes into play. Now, along with the Narcomoeba, the 3 Sword of Meeks that they play go onto the Narcomoeba. From there, they return Salvage Titan by exiling 3 artifacts. Then they sacrifice 3 artifacts from the field. Cast Salvage Titan. This is the second spell they've cast this turn, triggering all 4 Vengevines. And of course, that is 16 power when we're only at 6 life. So, we lose round 1 pretty bad, but on to round 2. Alright, so round 2, we go ahead and sideboard. We take out our Fatal Pushes. We bring in our Nihil Spell Bombs, and we bring in our What's the other card called? Thoughtseizes. We leave, take out Damnation. That was time as well. Our opponent's going to open on Leyline of Sanctity. We reveal Lurrus. Despite the Leyline of Sanctity, we still have a pretty good hand. I decided not to play Spellbomb on one because I don't really want to Spellbomb my own graveyard. I'd rather grab a Triome. We draw Bring to Light, which isn't great, but it's fine. We decided we're going to play Spellbomb. They can't do a whole lot on turn 2. I'm probably not going to counter a Talisman this time. I do decide with the Talisman that I'm just going to cantrip the Spellbomb away. We draw a Bobble. We untap and we draw Bring to Light, which is unfortunate because we're really hoping to hit a land drop this turn. We do draw Snapcaster Mage here. Our opponent goes for it, and we have Mana Leak. Really hoping they don't have a Pact and Negation to win the game here. They do not. We untap, drawing our third land, having up Archmage's Charm now. Not being sure if they brought in their... I assume they brought in the full package, having Leyline. They just creeping chill us, so we just decide to not do anything about it, and we just charm ourselves. We do draw 2 lands off the charm, including a Force of Negation, which is very important, because now we have Mana Leak for the initial spell and Force of Negation for the secondary spell. They play Talisman, and then they go ahead and they chill us, to which we let Resolve. We then untap, we draw another land, we play the land, and we pass with the intention of Snap Mana Leaking if we need to, or Snap Archmaging Charm. We decide, I believe, to Snap Archmage Charm here end of turn. Yes, to draw some cards. We draw 2 more lands, which is fine. It's not what we wanted, but it's fine. We attack for 2 here, putting our opponent down to 15. We are, of course, hoping our opponent does not have any more combo pieces. Opponent casts Creeping Chill, putting us to 6. We fetch a Sunken Hollow untapped. We play another land and pass the turn after an attack. We're starting to think about, do we want to use Cryptic Command here to bounce this Leyline? And the answer this time would be, I believe, yes at the end of turn here. Yeah, we decide to bounce it. We do fetch the Triome here, play another land, and pass with Valky in hand. I believe here I decide I'm going to go to just Bring to Light for Valky, since we have Force of Negation and Archmage's Charm backup. Cast Tybalt. Tybalt Plus is revealing 2 lands essentially for us. Our opponent decides they go ahead and try to cast Undercity Informant. We go Archmage's Charm, and at that point our opponent concedes to us having Tybalt. On to game 3 of round 3. Alright. Kept the sideboard the same way. Our opponent went first this time, revealed Lurrus. We decided to keep this hand even though it's a little awkward with Valky. Gets even more awkward when we draw the second Valky here, but having 2 Mana Leak feels pretty good. Opponent casts a Pentad Prism here. We decide we're going to fetch a tapped land and take our turn. We draw, holding up Mana Leak here. Opponent just goes to cast Undercity Informant. We go to Mana Leak. They pact, and that is all it takes for them to win the game because they have the 1 mana it takes to crack this. So, yep. They get us on turn 3 here, which is really, really unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah. So at this point, we are 0-2, right? Sorry, we're 1 and 2. We're 1 and 3 at this point, going into the last round. All right, so last round of the night here. Reveal our Lurrus. We decide to keep this hand since they show a Lurrus as well, which is completely unfortunate because we are playing the mirror match. Bet you didn't think I'd say that for this league. At this point, I'm holding out hope still that they're going to be some kind of shadow deck, but the more cards they play, the less it looks like that could be a possibility. Generally speaking, I have pretty good history with mirror matches when it comes to control decks, so I was feeling okay about this, although I would rather not play the final round against a control deck. We decided to play the fetch land instead of one of our other 2 lands and pass the turn. Knowing that we have 2 likely dead Fatal Pushes in hand is very awkward. Especially knowing also the Abrupt Decay is pretty awkward since, Valky flipped has its own converted mana cost. Because it's not a flip blocker, it is a modal double-face card. Opponent Archmages charmed themselves. We let this happen, I believe. We did hesitate for a second trying to think about it, but because I wasn't sure. End of turn, we fetch off this Mystery Hunter. I believe. Oh, no, we don't. We're going to save it for a basic, I believe. Don't really remember off the top of my head. Opponent and us just kind of trading land drops back and forth. Neither of us really wanting to budge and grab Lurrus just because we're not sure how much mana we'll have to spend each turn or who's going to have what each turn. Our opponent does try to snap Archmage's Charm. I do believe we decide to fight over this Archmage's Charm at this point. I could be wrong. No, we do decide to mana leak it. Just kind of wanting to cut off the bleeding. Don't want them drawing any more cards. Then we decide to push the Snapcaster Mage. This still leaves us with Logic Knot up, which I believe, yeah, they put Lurrus in the hand and just pass the turn. Which in retrospect is pretty smart. We decided to put our own Lurrus and pass. I'm expecting them to have a removal spell for Valky, so I didn't want to just play into Valky. They cast their own Valky. I have to contemplate the rulings of the card for a second. But I just remember that this is all one text of ability, which means if it dies, the ability is contingent on it being in play and everything. So it won't take the card in hand. I hope I explained that well. I play our Lurrus, kind of forgetting I didn't have any cards in my graveyard for Lurrus. Opponent goes Cryptic Command. We let them bounce our Triome. Our opponent casts their Lurrus. We fetch, grabbing basic island. I then decide I am going to try and Logic Knot this Lurrus. Opponent mana leaks. We decide to let the mana leak resolve. And by decide to let, I mean we have no choice but to let it resolve. They push our Lurrus here. We push their Lurrus as well, leaving both of us Lurrusless. But I believe here we decide it's time for us to make our move. So we play the Triumph tapped, and then we cast Valky, because remember, Reflecting Pool just needs a land in play. Valky resolves. We plus Valky, revealing Cryptic Command and Verdant Catacombs, passing the turn to our opponent. Our opponent then plays an island, and they cast their own Valky here. Notably, both of us hard casting Valkyes. We draw a land for turn. We plus Valky, revealing Archmage's Charm and Cryptic Command, and Archmage's Charm and Bring to Light. Opponent takes their turn. They plus their Valky again. We know we're in a situation here where I think what we need to do is get their Valky into their hand and then ultimate our Valky so that we have plenty of cards to use. We go try to Cryptic Command it. They just let it resolve without any fight. During our upkeep, they then decide they're going to go ahead and Cryptic Command, bouncing our Valky. We decide we're going to Archmage Charm it to start with. The opponent goes ahead and tries to Snapcaster... I believe Cryptic, yeah, Snap Cryptic. At this point, they did have one of our forces exiled, but I believe they are unaware of the way Force of Negation works, and we're thinking the same way I did, that Force of Negation has to be in your hand as well as whatever card you exile. But that's not quite the wording. It does say if it's not your turn, you may exile a card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. It doesn't say this card has to be in your hand. So we force countering this, and our opponent concedes to that, knowing that us having all of these cards that are in exile underneath Lurrus is probably going to be too good. Sorry, not Lurrus. Underneath Tibble is probably not going to be good for them. And yeah, so we go on to the next round. I meant next game, but I said next round. So again, I forgot sideboarding. So sideboarding, again, we just cut Damnation, cut those, and brought in Thoughtseizes and Nihil Spellbombs. We finally have a 7 we keep. We go ahead and we play Polluted Delta and Bauble, as well as we Thoughtseize them this turn. Out of their hand, we take the Archmage's Charm, as it's the best draw spell in their hand, or best card in their hand, with Logic on Aether Gust being the last cards. And of course, Aether Gust is only good against Bring to Light itself. We play an island, play the Spellbomb, and pass with the intention of cantripping it end of turn, hoping to draw into an untapped land so we can hold up Archmage's Charm. We draw into a Valky, which is fine. We do draw the untapped land, thankfully. Also, notably, it's an island, so it allows Sunken Hollow to come into play untapped next turn. Opponent plays a land and passes. I decide, I believe, here to Archmage Charm myself end of turn, which we resolves. We draw two cards. Mana Leak and Bauble. We draw Cryptic for turn. As we pass the turn here, I expect our opponent to do something here in step. They do put Lurrus in the hand, which to that we go ahead and we cycle or Bauble them, revealing Polluted Delta on top. We draw a Spellbomb. I decide to play Valky out of our own, thinking the odds are that they have anything other than this in their hand is unlikely. I believe it was one unknown. Yeah. So we get the Lurrus. They only have counterspells, so we're not really worried about them killing our Valky. We decided to pass the turn, though, after attacking, because I don't want to spend the mana during my turn to flip this, especially if they're going to play something during their turn. We leave up the mana for that and Archmage's Charm. They play a tapped land here, which notably is not a card they had in their hand. Well, I think this may have been that Polluted Delta. Yeah. Turn this into a Lurrus, play the ball from our graveyard, and start attacking with Lurrus. Remember, our Lurrus is still actually here. This is actually their Lurrus we've turned into. I'd say this is definitely a major risk in this matchup. They try to go for Bring to Light here, and we just decide, no, we can't let that happen. So we're going to go ahead and counter this. I believe we lead on Mana Leak here to counter the Bring to Light. Oh, no, we Archmage Charm because they do have 3 mana. My bad. So we Archmage Charm here, expecting them to Logic Knot, which they do not. They actually try to Gust it. And I do want to point out that we did make a mistake here. We should not have Mana Leaked the Aether Gust in case they had a Dispel left over. We should have Mana Leaked the Bring to Light again, so that if they did Dispel the Mana Leak, at least they counter their own Aether Gust for or their own Bring to Light for the turn. Kind of a bit of a mistake, but it ended up being okay at the end. We draw off our Bauble, we draw an Opt, we play Bauble again. Bauble the top card of their library, which is another Valky. Knowing they're probably going to hardcast a Valky here, which they try to which we go ahead and just spend Cryptic Command mana to counter it. And, of course, with that, they concede, knowing that at this point they're pretty far behind the Lurrus, and every turn they're just getting farther and farther behind. We also could have just spent a turn next turn tapping out to Bring to Light for Lurrus. So with that, our final results were 2-2 in shown games and 2-3 overall in the league. Honestly, all things considered, I really, really like this deck. I think it's really strong. I love being able to Bring to Light for Valky. I think that's so good. And I love that we're still a Lurrus deck. Overall thoughts are, though, of course, Force Negation and Archmage Charm are great spells. I'm kind of on the fence about Mana Leak. I do like Drown the Lock better, but Aspiringspike built this list so that you could play Abrupt Decay and stuff, and admittedly be better against most of the field, while it does take away some of your blue-red prowess points. That being said, Drown the Lock has a rough time in certain matchups too, but I do think overall this simplifies the mana. Like I said, my only real big complaint is I think one of the basics should be a basic forest for those very heavy Ghost Quarter and Field of Ruin decks, because we don't have all that many green sources. We have Breeding Pool and 2 Triomes, and that's it. That's 3 green sources out of the entire deck, which I understand we're mostly a blue-black control deck, splashing for Bring to Light and Abrupt Decay, but still. I think Bring to Light's important enough part of the deck that we do want that. Although no, we can just win a game with beatdown from Snapcaster and Lurrus. Although it was cool in that last match seeing Valky actually get the job done as Valky instead of Tybalt. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm so sorry the video had to be like this. I know we ran through it super quick, but I hope it was okay. I hope you guys at least enjoyed what you got to see. Again, I'm not very good at doing the replays like that, so yeah. I don't know. And a lot of this matchup, this league, a lot of things, like I said, we talked about the 2 things I felt like needed really some talking. But other than that, I felt like everything was pretty straightforward decision-making wise. Yeah. Overall, the record wasn't what I wanted, but I think still this deck is fine. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. But yeah. And I definitely think like a shell like this allows you for a little bit more versatility in your spells. I don't think Coatl is a good card because I don't know where it would fit. Also, with red-white prowess being so prevalent on the as well as the other prowess decks, I think Coatl might not be that great right now in a Lava Dart free deck or free mass Lava Dart format. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm so sorry about the way it had to come out, but I really didn't want to replay all those matches in a new league, and I felt like the deck was a lot of fun. And I might record another video with it, since I messed up the first video. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.